The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 88, The Bus Terminal. Halfway between the bridge and Granada, the bus driver realized that the brakes were failing. He had no choice but to reduce speed. When traffic stalled, he relied on the handbrake, knowing it wasn't a long-term solution due to metal fatigue. If it also stopped working, the bus would be uncontrollable. Rita noticed that the main brakes had gone silent. Previously, it had made a whirring sound every time the driver pressed his foot on the brake pedal. While Rita chatted with Nuria, she kept an eye on the road, peering past the locals dancing in the aisle and tourists snapping photos. The figurines hanging from the center mirror, Donald Duck, dice, and sacred statuettes, remained oddly calm. As the bus neared the city, it navigated crowded streets and intersections without major incidents. Upon reaching the bus terminal, it bumped over 3 speed humps, weaved through parked buses, and finally parked in its usual spot. The driver pulled the handbrake one last time, turned off the engine, lit a cigarette, and grabbed his jacket before exiting. Passengers stood up and began retrieving their hand luggage. The locals stopped dancing and Pal put his guitar back in its case. An elderly gentleman, grateful for Pal's music, handed him a piece of cheese of considerable size, saying, "Keep practicing. There's always room for another great guitar master." Despite cloudy skies, the rain had stopped. Exiting the bus terminal, Rita, Tessa, Nuria, and Pal adjusted their steps to match Rosen and Tessa's father. Rosen felt every step like a hammer blow to her head. On top of her migraine attack, she had developed a negative pressure headache due to vomiting and lack of fluid intake. Tessa's father, on the other hand, was extremely tired. Tessa and Rita both had to assist him, each on one side, leaving Rosen and her luggage to the kids, who were lagging behind. As soon as they passed through the gate with the father, Rita rushed to borrow a stool from a nearby sidewalk kiosk and returned to help Rosen and the kids. They waited by the road for a bit, and it seemed like the taxis were avoiding them. When the kiosk owner, elderly, well-traveled man, noticed this, he approached them and spoke in fluent English. "Tourism in this country is a double-edged sword. It brings in foreign currency, but easy money can corrupt people's values. Taxi drivers often target tourists to give them a short ride and make a quick buck. That's why they're avoiding you from." He didn't mention that they usually avoided picking up Romas, who typically traveled in large groups and lived on the city's outskirts. Tessa was already aware of this, having grown up in Granada and attended school in the city. So, she turned to Rosen and said, "I will try to hail a larger taxi that can accommodate everyone and take us to both addresses. But we should split into 2 groups to avoid looking like a big crowd."